Hi, Year 5. So we're back again after half term. Hopefully you've had a really lovely break. I know you probably didn't manage to get up to very much, but at least it was a bit of a break. So we're back to it with our maths and we're thinking about percentages. Now this follows on really nicely from the work that we've done on fractions and decimals. They all link in really nicely, and we're going to do some work at the end of the week on the connection, or we're doing it all the way through actually, but we're really focusing on those comparisons between fractions, decimals and percentages at the end of the week. So let's have a quick look first of all at our learning journey. So we're going to start off by comparing quantities. I'll show you what we mean by that in a minute. Then we've got a couple of lessons on finding percentages. So actually using our knowledge of fractions and decimals to help us as well. Ignore my spelling mistake here. So that should be fractions, obviously. So that's our work on fractions, decimals and percentages. Now we've actually only got 3 lessons from Maths No Problem. And the lesson on Thursday and Friday are going to be different things, just to consolidate that knowledge and make sure we really understand it. So we're going to finish off our week with some reasoning with percentages as well. And obviously we've got some reasoning challenges as we go through with our extensions this week. So let's have a look at today's in focus. So we're starting off with comparing quantities. So it gives us this image here, and it says, what fraction of the 100 squares contain biscuits? So you notice that link back to work. We're talking about percentages, but we're linking back to fractions. So we're using our knowledge of what we know. Now this should be quite an easy one for you to do. Okay, those of you who are looking thinking, oh, I'm not sure, I'm going to remind you to think about your denominator and your numerator. And we know that the denominator is the total number and the numerator is how many are shaded or coloured or filled. So go and have a go at that, but also see if you can work around that and think about other things as well. What else might you be able to link into this picture? How else might you be able to describe it? So don't just answer that question. Think about other ways that you might be able to demonstrate what that picture shows. Pause the video now then. Right, okay, now we're going to start something new, and we're starting something called show this, draw this, show it, draw it, explain it and prove it. I've put show this, but it should say show it. And I'm going to show you how to do that today, so that in tomorrow's maths lesson, you can actually have a go at doing that yourself, okay? So think really carefully about how we do it, and each day is going to look a little bit different. Your thinking might be a bit different to my thinking. That's absolutely fine. So we're going to start off by just having a look at this picture here. And I want you to think, how might you be able to show that image? What could you do to demonstrate that image in a different way? So pause the video and see if you can maybe give me some drawings. Right, okay, so let's have a little look and see what I've done. So I've demonstrated it by taking this drawing and actually putting it in a slightly different way. So you can see that this has got hasn't got all lines, full lines, it's got some gaps in different places. So I've decided my way of showing it might be to actually take all of the cookies, if I imagine that each of the blue shaded squares is a cookie, and I'll put them all in straight lines. So for me, I think that's easier to see how many cookies there are than this. For this one, I would probably count up 10, 20, 30, 40, but then this bit isn't quite so easy to count up. Whereas if we actually put them all in lines, that's really clear to me. And then here's another way that I've demonstrated it. So I've shown my deans, and I've got some tens deans and 100 dean. So I'm showing that I've got 6 lots of tens deans, and then I've got 100 dean underneath. So I'm showing it as a fraction. All right. So let's have a look at the next bit then. So obviously it's show it. So draw it. So let's have a look at draw it. Now, for this one, I want you to think a bit more about, so if I were showing it, I would actually have materials in school. I would have our Dean's blocks, and I would have things where I could place 60 cookies in a line, okay? It's a bit different because I'm trying to do it on a computer. But if we were actually doing it in school, that's what I would do. I'd have those bits of equipment. But now I'm coming to think about, well, how would I actually draw it on a piece of paper? So this time, what might you see? So I want you to think about, maybe there might be some calculations, maybe there might be some ways of writing it that you might be able to show me. So have a little go at drawing how you think we could show this picture. So pause the video and have a go at that one now. Right, okay, so let's have a little look and see what I've come up with. Okay, so I'm showing that I know that I've got 60 out of 100 because I know that I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 spaces. And I know that I've got 60 cookies. 60 of those spaces are filled. So it's 60 out of 100. But look, I've shown it in some different ways here. So I haven't just gone, well, it's 60 out of 100. I'm actually thinking a bit about what we've already learned. So I'm writing it in different ways, 60 out of 100. We know that 60 out of 100 is equivalent to 6 over 10, because if I divide my numerator and my denominator by 10, I'm going to get 6 over 10. So these are the same. Then I know that 6/10 is also written as 0.6 because we've done lots of work on decimals and we know how that works. I've also, can you see what I've done here? Have a think about what I've done here. I've simplified, haven't I? I know that 6/10 is actually simplified to 3/5. So we've got to constantly be thinking, can I simplify my fraction? Okay, so that's what it might look like if I were to draw it. I might think about how I would write the calculation. So the first one is, how might I show it with my apparatus? Obviously, I've had to draw it, so it looks a bit different. Second one, the draw it, is, well, how might I actually put it on a page with my pencil and my paper? Okay, let's have a look at the next one then. So explain it. Right, so this is kind of the bit where when we ask you to do your in focus, we always say, right, can you actually write it as a sentence and include a calculation? So this is that bit of it. So how would you explain it? Now, you can't just give me the answer, what fraction of 100 squares contains biscuits. I want you to see if you can explain it a little bit more. So pause the video and have a go at doing that. All right, let's have a look and see what we've done then. Okay, so this is where I have tried to explain my thinking. So I said there are 100 spaces in total. So that's my denominator, isn't it? And 60 of them are filled with biscuits. This means that the fraction will be 60 over 100 because 60 over 100 means 60 out of 100. All right, so I'm linking the fact that there are 60 squares with cookies in, 60 out of 100, and that fraction would be written as 60 over 100. I might also then go on to say this could be simplified to 3/5, because I know that if I simplify it, I could make it 6/10, and then simplified further would be 3/5. So I might include that in my thinking. Okay. Right, and let's have a look at our final section then. So prove it. So this one is a bit trickier, really. Some of the show it, draw it, explain it, prove it will really use this section effectively. This one is a little bit trickier, but we can still do it. So have a think. This, I don't know if how easy you'll find this, but have a think. Is there any way we can prove that we've definitely got this right? What might you write in here to show that we know is definitely 60 out of 100 squares contain the biscuits? So pause the video and have a go at that. Okay, here's how I decided to do it. There's no right or wrong answer, so don't worry if you didn't get the same as me. And like I say, this one isn't the easiest one to show it with anyway. But I came up with, there are 40 squares which don't contain biscuits. I know that 60 out of 40 is 100, so this proves that 60 out of 100 is the fraction of squares which contain biscuits. So that was the way that I chose to prove it. You might have done a different way, and I'd love to see each of the steps that you've chosen and that you've written in your book. So please do show me all of these bits and label it, show it, draw it, explain it, prove it. And that would be really great, because this is what we're going to start to try to use each week. And I want you to feel really confident with it. Don't worry if you don't feel really, really confident yet. Over time, that's going to happen, okay? But we'll have another go at it tomorrow. So let's have a little look then. We know that the fraction of 100 squares that contains biscuits, if we were to simplify it, would actually be 3/5. But how else can we say how full the box is? Have a little think about that one, and pause the video if you want to. How else could we say it? Let's have a look. Can we say it as a percentage? So if you think about it, that's what we're doing. That's our focus for this unit. So can we say it as a percentage? Now, in order to say it as a percentage, the easiest way to think about it is having it out of 100. Okay, so let's have a look. This little line here, as we know, means out of. So we're saying 60 out of 100. And percent, the word percent actually is from the French word for cent, 100, okay, out of 100. So that's what we have to think about. That's what we keep coming back to when we think about percentages. You need to make sure that you make it out of 100. So we're going to spend a bit of time just quickly thinking about percentages now, okay, and how we can use our knowledge of fractions and decimals as well. So you can see that this square, the total number is 100, so it's 100 square I've got there. I have shaded 7 of my squares. So I wonder if you can write down what that percentage means. Now I've put here, we use this symbol for percent. Now you don't have to draw little circles. You can actually just do it as a line and then 2 dots. So it's a bit like a wonky division sign, isn't it? Okay, so if percent means out of 100, we are going to be thinking, how many have I got out of 100? And hopefully you came up with 7%, because it's 7 out of 100. Have a look at this one. What would that one be? Yeah, you got it. It is, I don't know why I'm writing it like this. I should just get my thing. There we go, 23%. I wonder if you can think how many then are not shaded. What percent are not shaded here? What percent are not shaded here? Quickly think about that one then for me. Right here, you should have 93%. And I wonder if you know why. Yeah, it's because 93 and 7 makes 100, doesn't it? So then we've got to say, right, okay, for those of you who are not sure, we say how many more to make it up to the next tens number? I need 7 more. So my ones digit is going to be a 7. And if I take that, if I add 7 to that, it's going to take it to 30. 30 add what makes 100? 70. So it's going to be 77%. Okay, 77 plus 23 makes 100. Right, okay, hopefully that one is quite clear. So let's have a look at the next one then. All right, now I've made it a little trickier. I haven't put numbers, and I've done it like the In Focus, where I haven't necessarily labelled it all in strips. So you're going to have to quickly pause the video and have a look to see how many are shaded, and then you can tell me what percentage that is. Pause now. Okay, here we go. So you hopefully found out that it was 36 out of 100 were shaded, which makes it 36%. And this one here, 28 out of 100 are shaded, so that makes it 28%. Again, you could have a go and think about what the percentage is that isn't shaded. Right, have a go at this. What can you tell me about these two squares put together? Use what we've just talked about to help you. Pause if you need to. Jot your answer down on your squared paper. Okay, so you should hopefully be able to see that This one has got 2, 4, 6, 7 shaded, and this one has got 93 shaded. So we've just had a look at that, haven't we? And if we put them together, they actually make 100% all together, okay? So those two added together make our full percentage. And that, if we were thinking about a fraction or a decimal, would be 1. Okay, we could write it as 1.0. We could also write it as 100 out of 100. Okay, so there's different ways that we could show that. They're all the same, they all mean the same. Okay, quickly look at this last one then. What could we say about this? What does this show as a percentage? Perhaps you can also think about it as a decimal and a fraction as well. Okay, hopefully you realise that it is 50%, which is also 50, also 50 out of 100. I'm not going to write it all because that takes too long. 50 out of 100. We could also say 5 over 10. We could also say 1/2, couldn't we? So 50% is the same as a half. We could say 0.5 if we're thinking about it as a decimal. So all these comparisons, it's really important that you get used to comparing fractions, decimals and percentages. So let's have a look at your work for today. This is your guided practice that you're going to be doing. So you have to start off by telling us what percentage of that box is filled. So just like in your in focus, you need to think about it in terms of a fraction and then convert that to a decimal. So remember, if it's out of 100, that number is your percentage. So if I said 37 out of 100, it means it would be 37%. The next bit you've got is saying the percentage of the wall that is purple. It's not very clear on here, but hopefully it'll be clear in your books. So you should hopefully be able to do that. Okay, think really carefully about how many in the wall. And then in a group of 100 children, 13 of them wear glasses. What percentage of children wear glasses? Okay, not what percentage don't. We're looking at what percentage do. Okay, and then, so that's a nice easy one, hopefully for your guided practice. Then your workbook today, you're carrying on thinking about fractions and linking those fractions and percentages. This box here, we need you to simplify the fraction. So that's where you're going to put your simplified fraction. Then you've got some word problems to have a go at. If you finish that in time, then you're going to have a go at thinking about some more comparisons between fractions and percentages today. So you've got this sheet here. I've attached it as I usually do so that you can print it off or just have it on the screen. Obviously, you don't need to print it off unnecessarily. So if you are able to keep it on the screen, don't print it off. So that's your extension. Maths Teasers Group, you have got this extension today. So if you're not Maths Teasers Group, you can pause the video now or stop the video now and you can get going on your task. Good luck. Maths Teasers Group, just to make sure that you're okay with this, I know lots of you will probably be able to work away on it straight away and don't need the help. And if that's the case, go for it. If you need some more help though, stay watching just for a moment because I'm just going to quickly talk you through this because this is actually finding percentages of amounts, which we haven't talked about yet. So if you want a little bit of help with that, let's have a quick look at that. Okay, the very first thing to say on this is that it's really important that you think about the quickest strategy. You don't always need to revert to finding 1%, and I'll talk you through that bit of it in a moment. But what I really want you to do is think really carefully about what is the quickest way. So for instance, if you're finding 25% of something, 25 is a quarter of 100. So actually what you're doing is you're finding a quarter of something. And we know that to find that, we do half and half again. If it's 50%, you're going to be finding half of something. If it's 75%, you're going to be finding a half, then halve it again and add the two together, because a half is 50%, a quarter is 25%, And then if you add the two together, you're going to get 75%, which is 3/4. So always think about trying to use that strategy first, okay, with those numbers. But if, and today and tomorrow's work, there may be some other percentages that you can't do it like that. So just in case you either haven't done this before or you just need a bit of a refresher, here's a reminder then of an easy way to find percentages of amounts. So what we do is we start off, if I have 20% of 20, all right, we start off with our amount, which is 20, yeah? And so that's our amount there, not 20%, but the amount, 20. We divide it by 100. Now just pause and think why we might divide it by 100. Yeah, you're right. We're dividing by 100 so we can find 1%. Okay, so if I divide it by 100, I'm going to get 1%. So if you see down here, I've done 20 divided by 100 equals 0.2. So 0.2 is 1% of 20. And then to find 20%, all I'm going to do is take that 1% I've got and multiply it by 20. Now we can easily do this by doing 20 multiplied by 2 and then dividing by 10 to make it 10 times smaller. Okay, I've whizzed through that, but I know that lots of you are really confident, so I don't think you're going to need very much extra support with that. But so for this one here, obviously, this is one where you're thinking just about finding a half, a quarter, and 3/4, but then you move on to thinking about perhaps some of these you will need to use that strategy I've just taught you. So 60% of 60. Alternatively, you can also divide by 10 to find 10% and then multiply. So you might like to use that strategy for this one here. Okay, right. Go for it, and I look forward to seeing what you have done today. Well done, guys.